Hello, this is Dorothy Smith, and today I am going to bring you holiday cheer from close to my heart. So this is a ornament kit for getting ready for Christmas, and it's kind of fun. And you have whatever your imagination can come up with. Now I bought the entire kit, which included the two stamps, one for whimsy and one for kind of a traditional. I'm using intense black ink so that I can color over when I do these. You see, I've already stamped a few. So you get windows, shaker windows, several shaker windows in the kit, and you get some of the gold thread for hanging your ornaments, and a gold and a red and green bag of sequins. You just get one red and green bag of sequins. I think I bought those extra. And now you can do this a couple of ways, your choice. If you want to have a super bright white background, then you can paste the white cardstock on top of the chipboard. Or you can use the chipboard and ink stamp on it and use the cardstock for tags. So I'm going to sort of do some of the just chipboard stamping and a couple of the white cardstock stamping. And, I think when you kind of see it all put together, I don't think that it makes that much difference. Now, you also get 2 sheets of gold glitter cardstock to make rings to cover the foam tape, which is part of the shaker window. And when you make, I think you can make 16 ornaments with this kit. You end up with a lot of my favorite things, the inside of the foam double stick foam shaker window kit. So you have all these nice little squares that you can use on cards and scrapbook pages, an endless array of things. And I am just pulling out my markers, and that's an old-timey box from close to my heart from way back when. It's like a little toolbox that we got all these cool tools in. And as it turns out, it's a perfect fit for the markers. The problem is you can't get that box anymore. So ladies, if you've been doing this for ages like me, then you may have that box hidden away someplace. Otherwise, other ladies are using various containers from Dollar Tree or whatever to hold their markers. So I am using those markers, and the one thing nice about the intense black is it does not bleed at all. So you can just color away with these alcohol markers, and you don't get this smudging black. So I'm also using my white shimmer brush to add some glitz to the beard and mustache and to Santa's hat. And so, yeah, you can't really tell, but in real life, it looks real cute. So I am going to color all of my, they're not petals, I think they're called bracts of the poinsettia. And I'm going to do kind of light red in the center and the darker red on the outside. And one thing nice about these markers, our new markers, is that you have each marker has dark, medium, and light for the color. So you just pull out the one marker and you've got 3 shades. So kind of like that. And they're very, very easy to use, very smooth. Just kind of glide over stuff. I'm using a little gold on the inside of the for the stamen and whatever. And here are the outer leaves or bracts of the poinsettia that I'm making green just to kind of make it stand out and to look Christmassy. I didn't get complicated. Poinsettias have come a long way from just plain old red poinsettias. But they're still kind of my favorite. So, and I'm outlining the outer leaves in the darker green just to kind of show you, to add a little depth to the coloring. So, and I'm also adding a little of the medium to the leaves. So here we go. And now this, I know y'all have seen this truck with the tree on it all over the place. I mean, some of everybody is using that little design for Christmas this year. And so, of course, I had to make mine red. And I'm going to add a touch, even though the inking in the tree is pretty dark, I'm going to add the touch of green to it, and it does show up. You may not see it too well on my video, but believe me, it's there. Now, this little snow globe is so cute with that little cabin, and I'm coloring the trees behind the cabin, and very roughly, as you can tell. I mean, just, it doesn't have to be precise just because, you know, the part of the stamp is in black, and so, you know, just a touch of green is fine. I'm making my cabin brown, and then I'll add some yellow to the windows to make it kind of look like the lights are on in somebody's home. So I made the roof a little bit lighter than the cabin itself. In my mind, this is my log cabin in the mountains with a red door, of course. And I'm adding we're using my shimmer brush, which didn't show up a whole lot, but I was just adding it to put some little snow on the roof. I'm going to go back and use my stickles later on to try to add some snow on the roof and make it look shinier. So this kit does not come, this is not like our usual kits that come with lots and lots of instructions and they tell you exactly what to do. So, you know, I have, I'm using clover and candy apple red for the red and green stamping that I do. I don't think I do much with that tree. Okay, I'm going to show you how I went ahead and cut the rings that go on the outside of the shaker window. This is the new, well, we used to sell a Cuttlebug, which I have my pink Cuttlebug, but this is, since Cricut is no longer making the Cuttlebug, this is what we're offering now. And, you know, I thought I've already got a Cuttlebug, I don't need to get another one. But then I found out that this has a dial to add more tension. So if you have a particular die that does not cut very well, you can add a little bit of tension to this and boom, you got it. First time I used it, I've probably said it in another video, I fell in love. Okay, so the outer ring I use my tweezers to separate the outer ring from the inner squares. And then this is how I put it down a couple of different ways. But you want to maintain the shape of your outer ring circle. This is, to me, the easiest way to do it. You want to have some level of sturdiness for that foam to keep its shape. Otherwise, if you just take all the covering off the foam, you get just kind of a wonky circle, and then it becomes really hard to deal with. So that's me adding the white stickles, which we now carry, which I'm glad of. Love stickles. And I'm going to go ahead and add some of the white stickles to the snowflake that I had stamped earlier. The only problem with the stickles is you need to be able to let it sit for quite a while. And I think I put it on pretty thick, and so it took a long time for my stickles to dry. I kept on testing it and I'd get stickles all over me. So here I am using the tweezer again. This is a sharp nose tweezer. And I'm just kind of separating the foam from the ring of foam, the squares from the ring of foam. And you can kind of feel when you get down to the back paper. So I know this looks weird and you can't really see what you're doing, but when you pull it up, it's like, boom, look at that. And so it's real simple. Now I'm using our little bag, our anti-static bag, because these sequins are like, oh my gosh, so full of static electricity. I would suggest that you try not to use your fingers and pinch them out because you'll be pulling them off your fingers for the next 10 minutes. So try to just use your bag to pour a little bit in there. And sometimes the clear window adds some static and makes a sequin or two stand up on end, and then you have to try to squish it down after you've already kind of put it in place. So the static is kind of a big deal. So you want to use the anti-static bag when you're doing these. So I am using liquid glass on the outside of the rings that I've cut, and they're cut. I didn't show it. Shoot. There's a shaker window thin cut to make these rings, which I don't think I showed, and I thought I did. Anyway, they look like they have a stitched edge. So on a couple of the rings, I kind of dot them using like dotting every other stitched edge. Anyway, I just kind of went wild with these. Now I like these teardrop ornaments. And they have a couple of different, so you can see the kind of lacy point that can go on the bottom. There's also a sweet little stamp with a little kind of a star flower that can go on the bottom too that looks really cute. And later on I do one in gold embossing, which didn't get videoed. I also used this little rubber thing that we have that pulls glue off, and it is really good for pulling the film off of the one side of the window. So it's kind of hard to get it to come apart from the clear part, the protective coating from the clear window, but that makes fast business out of it. So I'm just testing out with the marker, and this is where I'm going every other stitch to just kind of add a little something to the outside rim there. Yeah, just a little something. See, now those are stamped directly on the chipboard, and here I'm doing one that's every other thing with red and green, and that's going to go on the Santa, which somehow didn't get videoed. But anyway, I'm just kind of showing you, a different look that you can do if you use. Now I pulled out some of my white glitter cardstock to make some white rings in addition to the gold, and there's that little star that goes at the bottom of the other teardrop shape. And so that is, I think, real cute. And this, you can see I inked the wreath in the clover green, and then I just used the marker to redden the berries. And so I'm adding the gold rim to match the embossed star down at the bottom. And I tried to get the gold shimmer brush, but it just didn't come across strong enough. So now this is me I stamped the white cardstock with the little wreath, And I'm adding that onto the chipboard to give some stiffness for the ornament. So, you know, you can do what you want to do. You know, whether you want to, add the cardstock directly onto all of the chipboard, or if you want to use some of the white cardstock for tags for presents. So I had a hard time deciding what to do with this, and I decided to do the December 25th, Christmas Day, and use the Versamark, and then we have red tinsel embossing powder. No, tell me I didn't do it. Yes, I'm using red tinsel embossing powder. I probably didn't get enough Versamark on the cardstock, and I'm trying to, get more of the red tinsel embossing powder. It's a little thin up at the top, but anyway, I'm using my heat gun to melt the little beads that make up the embossing powder. And it's a little hard to see with the tinsel. It's a little hard to see when the beads are actually melted for some reason. And I'm going to cook the paper by having that thing so close. It's amazing it didn't go up in flames. My finger almost did, though. Anyway, it's usually you can see it actually changing. But I decided that just looked kind of boring. So I'm adding some holly leaves, because what's Christmas without holly leaves? That's my favorite. And so I'm going to take my clover and make some holly leaves going around. Almost like a wreath, but not quite. A sparse wreath. But it just adds a little festivity to it. Yeah, it was just too bare otherwise. Okay, so there's my little holly leaves, and then I'll go ahead and make the berries red with my marker. The more I use these markers, the more I like them. I think it's really neat that they have three colors per marker. So what do I do? See, I have a hard time. If I don't have instructions, boy, I have a hard time making decisions. So I'm going to loosen my squares from my rim. And then take the protective paper off. Some people take the whole rim off and put it on there, but I just find it easiest to do it this way. But that's just, I've tried it all different ways and struggled. So I'm going to use, I just put a little bit of the anti-static bag, kind of squeezed it into the bag of sequins. You don't have to put too many sequins on there for them to be effective. You can put too many and it gets too fat with the sequins and they don't move around freely. So if you put fewer in, they have a better ability to move around. So don't load it up. Okay, so I'm going to put a nice white rim around the outside and then put it down on its chipboard. So now what I did with this, I didn't, sometimes, you have it in your head that something's going to look good. And I embossed that in gold on the bottom of the snow globe. And then I kind of colored it in red, thinking that that was somehow going to be a good idea, and it wasn't really a good idea. So bring on the stickles. Bring on the stickles and fix that. And, actually, there are my ornaments. And like I said, you're free to make these ornaments whatever you want. You certainly can put pictures of the kids in the ornaments instead of stamping anything and send them on to your parents and your husband's parents and or aunts or whatever. And they get to have, then you would want to date it on the back. And there's a to and a from stamp on there, so you could put to and from in the date for the grandparents to keep. So anyway, putting the strings on are real easy, and I'm fixing my nail polish because one chipped and the other one I jammed into the door jamb, and it knocked off a big hunk of my nail polish. So it's the stickles was perfect, exactly like my nail polish. So there are my ornaments, and I'll finish the rest of them later on. Anyway, they were fun to make. So the hardest thing is making a decision, and look at all these great squares you have for double stick foam to raise items up. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.